Welcome to the NRL
Go, go.
Fantasy Fanatic Podcast. I'm Random and I'm joined by Welshie, and we have a
Hello.
man close to Welshie's heart joining us today.
Well, we looked through and through and scrounged through the Fanatics overall group, trying to find someone doing worse. I know Randall's had a half decent start, but doing worse than myself. We struggled to find it, but we did land on one of my muckers from the site, Archer. Welcome, buddy.
G'day guys, let's be honest, well she's got me on here because he copies all my fantasy info, so he needed a hand.
Twat.
Well, that's why you guys have the same score.
I will refute that claim. I have got 0 raiders this year, so that can't be the case. I'm just equally as shit at fantasy as Archer.
So you don't have Clockstad?
No, I don't. I went with
Goodbye.
Edwards.
Does it feel
I
bad?
am weighing up. I'm weighing up bringing him in just to piss him off. So we'll see.
All right. I guess we'll quickly go over our teams. For me, I've traded out Holland. He's just doing shit, not doing enough. The Bulldogs are playing terribly. Watch him score 70 this week, and brought in Bird. And then I'm holding tight on Rava and Host because I think they'll bounce back, get okay scores, and keep making money.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's pretty sensible. But I think Bird has to come in this week. He'll probably be the most traded in. Or him or Burns, 2 centres, which is odd. I'm bringing in Bird myself after another poor start. Radley again, completely being shit. Totola just not getting the role I wanted. He's scoring. He's making money slowly, but I can't be having that in the front row when you got people like Laurie absolutely flying. Arch, what about you, mate?
So I'm a bit stuck this week actually. I'm tossing up giving both Bird and a Brown a miss. I didn't start with Brown.
Wow.
I've got Morris that I've got to get rid of and Holland. But I think I'm probably just gonna maybe pick up a wing fullback, probably Burns, and then sit pretty with the centers that I've got at the moment. And I don't know. I've got so many other areas to fix up.
Is there a reason
Have you got
start with
Bird?
Brown?
I don't have Bird either. No, and I didn't have a good reason I didn't start with Brown. I just life stuff popped up on the last day, and I got a few autofills in my team. One of which was Flegler, so I'm not entirely.
So, Welshie, you're doing as bad as a guy who didn't have Brown, Bird, or Burns to start the season with.
I've just deleted the app. I'm not playing no more.
That's fair.
I'm retiring from fantasy.
My life's work is done.
We'll get into the questions now. This is from Filth. So, do you guys want to take a punt on basement price players in their first game? Or do you want to spend the extra cash, wait for them to earn a bit of cash, and get a look in at them and grab them after a game?
What do you reckon, Arch?
For me, I prefer to have a look at players on the most part. And if I have to take a punt, it's usually on someone like a winger or a fullback where the minutes aren't up for debate.
Yeah, I definitely got that. You're guaranteed 80 minutes. Decent shot at getting a try. A couple of more attacking opportunities than some forwards. And, you don't want to be running the risk of having your forwards come off the bench like Flegler in the first game. Minimal minutes. And then deciding whether you want to stick or twist for the week after. It all comes down to a bit of luck at starting well. If they start well, it gives you the hope that they continue the form. And the shit start, then you're just praying that they'll turn the corner, or you're weighing up trades early then, which is always a bit of a nightmare from a poor scoring cow.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Like, if you save, like you might spend an extra 30 to 40k to get him in, but then you at least know you're not getting a Feeney who will go out there and score like 8 points in 80 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. You know the role, you know their capabilities. Like I say, it's only one round, so the next week it could be like a house situation, a good 40 round one, a shithouse 14 round 2, similar minutes. It is annoying, but sometimes you've got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah. The second question. I'm just going to keep on power through. The second question from Filth is captain choices. Do you guys prefer the consistent scorers in Smith and Cook, or are you guys going to take a punt on like Arrow or Surges?
You take this one first, Walshy.
If I had a Cook, Smith, and Fita, I'm always sticking. These are your Uber guns. The consistency is the reason why you've got them at to begin with. It's the reason they sit where they do on the fantasy totem pole. If you've got them, sometimes the hardest. If you've got multiple choices, man, it's sometimes where you're potentially looking at a matchup choice, but over someone like a Surges or an Arrow, for me, unless you're that far behind, you've got to stick with the big guns. There's nothing worse than taking the punt. You might be relatively pleased, like McCullough or Arrow might hit the 60, 65, and then Fafita turns up, has an absolute monster 80, or Smith does absolutely fuck all, and racks up an 80 as well. And there's nothing more disheartening than that. Thinking you made the right choice, and then everyone else who's made the more consistent choice just moves further and further ahead of you.
Yeah, no, consistent scorers just make more sense. You don't want those guys to... You don't want to be playing a game with like Arrow and stuff where you're hoping for the 80 or 90 to bang out and they get a 30 and you're like, oh, well, that could have gone better. And then next week you don't put it on them and then they go big. It's too much of a roulette for me.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, part of the reason you spend that money up front on those big guns is so that you've got that consistency. If you weren't going to play him as captain, you're probably better off not bringing him into your team to start with, using that cash on someone else. I don't know, and then riding those captains week to week. But for me, I wouldn't do that. It would tilt me too much each week as I missed the score.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
And the last question from Filth is just for Welshie. Why doesn't Welshie let Filth on the podcast? Is it because he beat him in the mods league this week? Is it because he's beating him in overall? Or is it just because Filth's a better all-round bloke?
Well, he's a twat to begin with, but Random told me at the beginning there's only one cheap shag allowed on this podcast. Sorry, mate.
Fair enough. That is actually a rule. Along with the party one, it's just down the bottom, squeezed in.
The next question we had in the mailbag was Chewy. Chewy's wanting to discuss the front row position and the thoughts on a few players. Bunty, Twal, McLean, Paolo, Napa, Tolman, James, Surges, Tamo, and Clemmer. Which of these or any others do you think are shaping up as clear guns for the season? And are there any good mid-tier options?
For me, it's Burgess has to be number one. He's been a gun. He's done there and done it all before. And if he's back in form, he should go all right. And there's a bit of question marks because I think he's had 3 tries the last 2 games. Yeah, 3 tries. So, yeah, he may still drop down a bit, but they're mid-tier options. They're not guns. They're not the guys you want to end your season with. Tamau's a good example of that. He scored 90-odd points the first week, and then he's back down to 40 or 50. And there's a good chance that drops lower when Kakao comes back and takes more of the workload off him. They're mid-tier for a reason. Like, you've got Tolman, whose minutes are all over the place. Twal, people are talking big up this week, but last week people were considering dropping him just because he wasn't performing as well as they thought. So for me, I don't really rate any of them.
Would you have Burgess up in the feet at Tapau tier yet?
No. Like, he can score big, but I'd want to see him consistently be doing it without tries. Tapau will break like 3 or 4 tackles in one run. He might not get tries, but he'll still have those monster scores.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think...
You go.
Sorry, Arch, carry on, mate. Go on, bud.
I would probably have Surges in that top tier. I do think he's primed for a big season again. I think he's going to go back to that super gun status. I know that his scores have come from attacking points, but to me, I don't know. It's one of those gut feels.
Are you two not worried that he's obviously on an edge now? He's had a huge start. It's likely to push him above the 50 long term. He's going to need some very poor games to halt that. But if he keeps getting these 10, 15-minute rests, I know the Rabbits have been up. Do you think it's tough to maintain going above 50, playing 60, 65 on the edge?
Not really. Sam Burgess, he's always been a workhorse. He's always been that player. Like, when he was in his prime and having well above 50 and was in that top-tier elite gun status, the tries didn't matter. He was still making plays and just getting involved with a consistent work rate.
But he was playing lock then. You're not worried? I know he's got a big work rate, but there's only so much that can come wide sometimes and come onto your edge.
The fact he's on the edge is just better for him. He's going to pick out those centers and push the halves. He's going to make... It's better for him attacking-wise, and I think that'll just balance out throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the reason I like him is just because he's one of those competitive players. So I think even though he's got a little bit less opportunity, he's sort of that person who'll go looking for work. And I think, as you said, the attacking stats will probably balance out some of the lost defensive.
All right.
I think...
Oh, you're right. Go Welsh.
I think... Yeah, I think out of them, I think Clement might go above Sturgis this season. He's played absolutely huge minutes. I think it was 65 he's averaged in the first 2 games. Obviously, they've bought him as their star player. He's just a monster. He's got your meat and potato, 30, 35 tackles, 200 run meters every. So to me, I think he's pretty much a lock to go over 50. Whether he can eke towards 55 in those big minutes consistent, I think he can get up to just below Fafita tomorrow, and I think he'll finish above Sturgis at the end of the season.
Would you have any of these guys over Fafita or Tapau?
Oh no! I don't. No, not a chance out of them two. They're guaranteed over 55. Tapau, if he keeps Tapau potentially can go back under, because until I think last year was an outlier. He averaged pretty much 51 to 3 seasons prior. So I'm not. He's going to have to go big again this year, but obviously he's done it before. But none of the names mentioned there, I don't think go above. Certainly can't go above Fafita.
So then,
Clem,
I got a question for you.
Sorry, mate.
How do you get Fifi or Tapau? What strategy would you take this year? Because I haven't started with either of those guys. And the front rowers, as you said, are going up and down each week. And I think someone like Clemmer could go big, but I reckon this week he's probably going to go massive against Raiders and be out of my range to pick up. So what's your idea?
I'd be looking at downgrading one of your middies and upgrading Tom to Fafita pretty soon. His minutes dropped back below the 70 from the round 1 Fafita, which I thought if he could have maintained 70 minutes through most of the season, he would probably be the number 1 scorer in the game. I think he was back around 60. With Gallen looking like taking a bit of a backseat this year, I'd be trying to get Fafita in as soon as you can, to be honest.
So you just make the change earlier rather than later?
I would make the change earlier. I just think he's got some we all know he's got massive scores in him, but I think you will see more 60s than 55s from Fafita this year. I'd be going early to get him in.
How about you, Random?
If it was, I wouldn't gut my team for him. You've got so many other guns. Like, I think you can just hold off. Like this past week, he only scored 55, I think, or something like that. It wasn't
53, yeah.
53. So he's still going to have those low run games, and you're already behind if you haven't picked him up. But you're not going to make yourself worse by like gutting your team and starting with like a rookie forward with Fafita at this point. Because for the most people, that's how you'd get him. You'd have to trade off 2 of your mid-tier guys.
Have you got anyone else alongside Smith as a plus 60 scorer where you can rely on him, every 2 or 3 weeks to go over the 60 mark, Archer?
No, not really.
But
that would be my issue. See, You want someone who can go 50 to 80, more so over 60, just because everyone else has him, just to keep par and hope your mid rangers can do something in the interim. But I think you need someone who can go above 60 effortlessly sometimes to pair with Smith. Otherwise, I think you might get too far away.
See, I'm considering, and this will excite the traderholics like myself. I'm actually considering treating the front row position a bit like the wing center position this year, and riding a high score, and then picking someone that's on the fall. So there's a couple of front rows at the moment that I think are dropping slowly in price, and I can probably jump off and earn a bit of cash and just keep doing that week to week, or not week to week, but every 4 or 5 weeks. An example, because I love the guy, is Big Papa. I think he always starts season slow, and he's falling at the moment and going under the radar, but he's still scoring 40 odd, and I think he'll drop probably over the next 5 or so weeks. I might pick him up if I can ride Tamo for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I like the idea. Well, not really. I don't like the idea of trading one mid-tier guy for another mid-tier guy. If you've got Tamo, that 90.
Yeah, I wouldn't be jumping off and on to mid-tier to mid-tier. You're either going down to a cashy to upgrade elsewhere, or you've got to be jumping onto again. Or I potentially take a look at going at 12. I think he's one of them mentioned in that list who can push above that 50 mark. And he's priced pretty nicely at the moment, I think.
All right, I'll give it a look.
All right, so the next question is from Sajos. Is Kahu a sell for Burns?
Absolutely, and I would have done that. I would have done that last week.
Yep.
Yeah. Kahu's in centers now, isn't he? And last year with the Broncos, he had scores of 2, 8, and 9 when he played 80 minutes, and his highest was 44. So, complete sell. Wouldn't have started the year with him even at fullback.
That was 5 points, his biggest last year, 5 points above Burns' lowest score already this year, without doing too much. I think Burns looks like an early season gun. Like I said, I would have made that trade last week.
Another question from Teeth Eater this time. Who has better job security out of Host and Ravalua? And if it's Host, what sort of minutes do you expect per week?
Do you want to take that, Arch?
Sure. I mean, to me, it's a good question, but to me, I think possibly Host, just because I think they're both fairly safe, but I think if Dragons keep failing, it's a lot easier to scapegoat a winger, especially if they just happen to be in a week where they've let a few tries down their side, whether or not it's through the centre or the wing. It doesn't really matter. It's that easy scapegoat for the team. And on top of that, with the whole Widdop Dufty stuff, it wouldn't surprise me to see Mary do something weird, like put one of them into centre or wing or something, just to keep them in his team in the stubbornness. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, Host is there because of injury, but until Frizzell gets back, I don't see him dropping off the starting team or out of the side. Rava did win it through the trials against Lomax, but yeah, I expect Host to still get 60 minutes, and that's why I'm not trading him out.
Yeah, I'd go with 60 to 65 for Host, but I think he'll definitely be, especially the way the Dragons are starting, it's going to be game dependent. He lacks any attacking output, which is the kind of the bench that comes on the spells him. Leilua actually does possess, even if his defense is horrible. If they fall behind, there's a good chance that Host is the first to get hooked. Even though it doesn't translate into fantasy, he does read the game well, but I think he will struggle to get much past 30. Like any wing fullback, if he can learn to pass the ball, Rafa might be able to do something with it. But I'd be looking at Host over Rafa to keep if I had the choice.
Yeah. Next question's from Green Machine. What would your current halves rankings be for you guys?
You can take some more.
Well, from now on to the end of the season, I'd have Cleary and Sean Johnson tied to the top. I think Johnson showed last week. He looked to be honest. He looked like he was going to bust a few in the round one, but he didn't. He was a lot more effective last week. In that Sharks team behind that pack, I think he's going to absolutely monster when he finally starts to get going. He averaged about 57 behind that Warriors pack last year. I don't think he'll do as much general kicking with Townsend there and Boylan chiming in as well. But I think he'll absolutely rack some scores up from now to the end of the season. Cleary, he's up there with him. He's one of my favourite players to watch. I got DC then third, A-Ray fourth, and then a split between Pierce and Milford. I think Ponga moving to the halves probably knocks Pierce slightly below Milford because he's doing a fair amount himself. And I had a POD stab. I mentioned him a few times on the forum, but Moses, I think he can really elevate this year. He's got absolutely massive kick meters. The Eels are looking semi-decent this year. I think he averages around 46, 47 when kicking for over 300 meters. And currently Brown is kicking below 100 a game. So if he maintains that, I think it's going to stop his absolutely horror games when he scores 14 or 15 from 10 missed tackles. But my POD stab for the halves is Moses. I think he could eke up into that top 5 by the end of the year. What about you, boys?
Yeah, you're up, Archer.
Yeah, I had the same top 4, but switched. So for me, I had ARA and DCE as the top 1 and 2. Probably with DCE as number 1. I'm just not as convinced SJ continues being dominant. I don't know, with someone like Moylan in the team, who goes looking for work when they're behind. I don't know. I'm not sure if SJ suits that whole grindiness of the Sharks. I think he'll do well, and I think I had him as probably third ahead of Cleary at fourth. But yeah, he wasn't top 2 for me. I'm liking what I'm seeing from DC and ARA.
Yeah, I'm the same with you guys. I got the same top 4. I've got DC as number 1, and then I've actually got Cleary number 2 because I think with the addition of Cacao back in the team, and the Panthers just haven't been hitting their straps well to start the season. I think they improve and he improves off the back of that. Then I've got A-Ray, Sean Johnson, for all the points we've touched on. He's still learning the Shark system. He's still going to be developing, and he's always been that sort of inconsistent scorer. And then my 5th one is another guy I don't think you guys mentioned, Lachlan Lewis. He's had 440 kick meters the first 2 weeks. Very little attacking stats so far in that Bulldogs lineup. And he's got
He loves to tackle as well.
Yeah, the first week he made like 39 tackles or something insane.
That is fucking ridiculous.
He did have 9 missed tackles this last week though, but we'll gloss over that. But I think he's got Marshall King starting as the starting hooker now, who just doesn't kick when he's playing hooker. Foreign's never been that big hooker kicker or big half that kicks. He'll like control the game, but even when he was at Manly, Cherry Evans was doing a lot of it. So I think Lachlan Lewis is in for a big year.
No love for the dual hooker half Coruscant, or do you think Fino affects him too much because obviously he's not playing 80 currently?
Yeah, it's just Finau affecting him too much. He's been scoring great, and he was someone I tossed up for that 5th position. But yeah, just Finau's affecting him too much. Lachlan Lewis has the position locked down, and a stack load of kick meters, and like as you said, likes to tackle.
Have you? I guess then Lachlan Lewis is your POD half to to get into them at Becklands Arch. Have you got anyone else?
No, I don't know. To me, there's a fair few guys I think are gonna sit around a bit like front rowers, sit around that almost top tier, vying for that 5th position. I think it's a roll of dice as to which one gets there. You put up good arguments for Lewis. I will look into him.
Oh, he's definitely not a guy I'd trade in, but he's a guy that I like watching because he kicks it a lot. Just don't want to watch
he's great
that much.
He's great for fantasy. He's attacking wise this year. He's been pretty poor, but it's early doors. The whole Dogs team have been pretty crap, to be honest. So there's always room for improvement there. The next question from GM Arch, if you want to answer that. You panicking or persevering if you're currently fielding Kieran or Brown in your 17?
I feel like this question's targeting at me because I'm in full blind panic mode. I've got Kieran and I've got Morgan as my 2 halves, and as I said, I didn't start the season with Brown, so it doesn't help being well behind the pack.
At least you don't have to worry about picking and choosing each week and being let down by whoever scores the worst. So there's always that, mate.
Yeah, good point. I'm thinking I might look at someone like Guth, or maybe see how Martin goes at fullback. Or this one sounds a little weird, but maybe even Tyrone Roberts or someone that's got a low BE, and then try and ride them up to someone quite soon, because I'm a bit sick of poor scores in the halves.
Yeah. Brandon, what about you, mate?
I think it was always to be expected. I think nearly everyone, bar Archer, has Kerrigan and Brown in their team, and I think the majority either have both or at least one of them starting. So I wouldn't panic if you've got to rely on one of them. I wouldn't panic. For me, I made the wrong decision, played Kerrigan over Brown last week, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to follow Welshie's opinion because so far he's been right 2 for 2. Kerrigan the first week, Brown the second week, and I'll just stick to the rule out of playing them.
Well, not so much lucked out. I was forced to play Brown as my 4th reserve. I suppose I had Bear after the friend news last week, so I had to chuck someone in. So to be honest, I don't think I lost much. 48 points, can't really go wrong with that. But there's no panic from me. I'm just taking the rough with the smooth. They both scored both showed their potential. They can score well. Brown hasn't been horrible yet. A 30 in round 1. His tackle stats are pretty impressive. I think he's only had 1 miss, but I'm not expecting that to continue. He is going to have to get involved more in the attack because his kicking game is just not there. He's not making any points from general play kicking. Kerrigan didn't last week, but he did have, I think, 200 odd in week 1. I'm not sure if that was because the Warriors were up and they were just letting him play a bit. But no, there's no panic from me. I'm just, like I said, I'm just taking it as it comes until they make enough cash where they can downgrade one and upgrade the other.
If you had to play, which one are you playing this week, or are you playing both of them? If you have to play one,
if I play one, I'm playing. I'm going to go back to Kerrigan. I'm probably choosing between Host and Brown for my last reserve, so I might be playing both this week. I'd probably lean towards that because I can't see. I'd not have another bullshit truck horror show watching Host.
Yeah, no, I'm going Kerrigan this week. He's back at home. They're versus Manly, I think, so they should rack up some points there. And Brown's up against the Roosters. It's going to be a hard match for him.
Yep. I won't be trading in Brown this week. I won't be trading in Brown.
Okay.
I'd go against that. I don't normally go with fixtures, but I don't think you're gonna miss out on Brown. He's probably got another 150, 200k in him. I don't see you don't have to play him this week, but I'd look at getting him in. I wouldn't worry so much about the Roosters. They've got a lot of big boppers who like to fly out. He's got on his feet, Brown. A few potential tackle breaks by some of the Roosters forwards trying to take his head off. I honestly wouldn't worry about them playing the Roosters. If I was going to bring him in,
I don't know. To me, he's one of the few games I did get to watch last week, and I was just not impressed with his involvement. And what worries me is what you talked about before about the tackles and him not keeping up that tackling. The Roosters halves are really good at isolating players and sending their forwards at them, and I can just see him getting picked apart this week and falling off tackles everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The other way that I look at it is when Moses doing the vast majority of the kicking, a lot like Morgan. The Broncos knew that, so all they did was send all their defenders flying at Morgan because they didn't have another option. I think Brown's going to have to get more involved in that aspect this week, so it could potentially open up something for him. But
good point.
I wouldn't worry about. I'd be getting him in this week. You know, he's got a big negative B. I think I'd run the thing. I wouldn't. You don't have to play him, but I'd seriously look at bringing him in.
And the last question for today from Green Machine. Class player in Clifford finally gets his break. Are we still interested in Morgan with potentially less kick meters? We'll start with Archer.
Actually, can you come back to me, because I've got a question for you about this. I didn't get to watch Clifford at all last year while I was traveling around, so I've got no idea what kind of a player he is. Is he like a genuine halfback?
Yeah,
he's a lump.
He's a lump. I'd say he's more of a
He's
halfback.
huge.
Okay, well,
yeah. He's. I haven't overly seen him too much. I'd probably be looking at someone like trying to compare him to someone.
I'd say he's similar to Foran, where he's not going to be making explosive plays, but he can help lead the team around and help take that pressure off Morgan. So Morgan can just focus on the attacking plays and setting up the team in that front.
okay, that's sort of what I was expecting. So for me, I thought that would only be a good thing for Morgan. If I'm honest, I'm not sure he gets less kick meters. I think he's the experienced half, so he's probably still going to be the one who overcalls and gets the ball in that situation. And I think if he does happen to get less kicks, I think he's probably going to feel like he can take on the line a bit more. So that's only a good thing for Morgan, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, last year Clifford only had, I think he had one game out of the 5 or 6 he played where he kicked more than 200 kick meters. And I expect him to be in that 100 to 200 kick meter mark, which is what T-Marie Martin had. And in week 1, and Morgan came out with like a 68 or something ridiculous. And Morgan's break even's still only 26. So as long as he keeps plugging away and he pulls up another big score, because they got slaughtered by the Broncos last week. Like it was just a horrible game for him all over. And Morgan will get some more attacking stats. He'll have another big game, and the money will just keep rolling.
Yeah, until I see Clifford actually affecting the scores, there's no worries for me. And I like Archer, I think it's actually going to help his game. The lack of Martin's kick game really put pressure on Morgan last week because, like I said, all the Donkeys did was fly out to the line because they knew that Morgan was the only option they had. I think Clifford will take on some responsibility, or at least he'll take the complete targeting that Morgan received from the Donkeys last week. I think that will help his game, 100%. And he might lose 5 to 10 points from lack of kick meters, but I think he'll gain them from being less targeted.
Yeah. Just gonna quickly chuck something in there. Along with the whole one sheep shagger rule, I think the best team in the league should just be called the Broncos, not the Donkeys, just because, they are the best team in the league.
Donkeys is what it is.
I think that's all our questions. Did you want to go over your team a bit more, Archer, and talk about your trades and stuff and get some input?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, sure. I can quickly fly through it.
Yeah, go for it.
So I've got Smith, as I said. He's my captain week to week. Up front, I've got Tolman and Vaughan, who are they're not really hitting where I'd like. Tolman with the minutes, and Vaughan, his second stint seemed to be a little less involvement than I'd like. But I think that might improve. So out of those two, I prefer Vaughan. Back row, Capewell, Gillett, and Murray. Halves, I've got Morgan and Kieran. As I said, no Brown. Centres, Holland, Nakora. And then wing fullback, I've got Whiten. I've got...
Oh, Christ.
I knew that was going to get a comment.
Why?
Hey, I reckon he's a sneaky pod. He's doing well.
Sneaky, yeah. Christ alive. That is a shocker, mate. I got it, sorry. Carry on.
I've got Chance, who I'm hoping she leaves well alone. And then I've got B-Moz, who's just, less said the better. Then I've got Maka, I've got Ghana, Laurie, and Tamo, who I brought in Laurie and Tamo last week. I've got Mahoney, or however you say his name, Napa, Flegler, and Mr. Ravalava.
Mr. Ravalava.
You've got quite a bit of money tied up on a non-scoring players there, and that's another thing probably that I guess gives you fits who to start from week to week.
Yeah. It's, as I said, I've too many mid ranges, too much money spread across rather than in my starting 17 week to week, which I'm hoping to rectify.
So, who are your planned trade outs this week?
I'm. That's where I'm a little tossing up between whether or not I get rid of someone like, I don't know. I don't want to say Maka because he's doing all right, but it frees up a lot of cash to bring in someone like Fifi or Cook if I also then get rid of, say, Holland. But
did he miss out on? Did he miss out on Mahoney's points having him outside your 17 last week?
Yeah, I did. That said, my bench only scored slightly less than him.
No. It's gutting seeing stuff like that when you could have had like Holland lobbed out somebody, Nakora there. I know he's already there, or you could have someone similar and still having them Mahoney points. That is gutting.
Yeah. I mean, the points that I didn't pick up were Mahoney's 50, Napa's 62, and Flegler's 54. Although I wouldn't have expected to get.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, random. Carry on, mate.
I agree that you should be moving Holland out just to free up some cash. I don't know why you have like Tapau, not Tapau, Tamo, Tolman, and Vaughan. That's just too much forward stacked in cash on people that just aren't guns.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up Tamo because I figured after round one that I'd want to get one of Vaughan or Tolman up to a gun, and Tamo's my way partly of doing that. I think I'm going to probably ride his price rise up and then drop Tolman and upgrade Tamo to one of either. I think I'm not convinced on Fifi just because, well, she's so convinced on him, so I'll probably go Kapow.
I'd seriously look at downgrading Tolman now, moving Tamo up, and then just putting that cash. No. Tamo's going to make more cash in the short term, and he's paying over 55 minutes at the moment. I think that's going to lead to some 50, 45, 50. Where Tolman, I think, will, unless he gets his minutes back, he's going to struggle to get anywhere near that. I'd be putting that money on Holland, or I'd be turning Holland into Bird just to make some extra cash, or Burns. Actually, no, I'd be getting Burns, 100% Burns in for Holland. And downgrading Tolman this week, moving Tamo up, putting Mahoney on the bench, and then using that cash next week for something big.
So one guy we didn't mention actually, which I wanted your guys' advice on, is Capewell. There's the chance he shifts to centre this week with the 2 injuries to the Sharks outside backs. Are you guys comfortable playing him in your 17?
Yeah, sure, for now, until I see that he gets moved into centre. I'm not going to panic and move him out. Even if he is, I'm just going to take whatever score he has this week and then reassess next week.
Would you play someone like Brown over him? This is purely just for my team.
No. And if he does get moved to centre, I'd throw up the idea of moving Brown into the scorers, But especially if he starts a second row, I'd be playing Capewell. I don't care if Brown has a big one. I much prefer the safety of that 35 to 45 points from the second row.
And one more question for Archer. Did you miss out on Garner too? I don't remember hearing Garner's name shouted.
No, I got Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't miss out on absolutely everyone.
You got Garner and Nicole.
Just the vast majority. But seriously, I think you need to move some of those. They're not even mid rangers. I think they're bloody mid. Well, they are mid rangers, but there's a lot of cash. You're not even looking at 400k players. You're looking 560, 600k players. Just floating around doing nothing. Yeah, I'd be downgrading Tolman this week. Definitely. I'd rather you run the risk, or if I was you, I'd rather risk on Tamo increasing his output in the extra minutes he's been receiving.
So then you're in my scenario, like you've said, and you want to downgrade Tolman, and you've talked about Burns. All the players I don't have, like Brown and Bird. Who do you bring in as the downgrade?
Brown, and then I'd be switching Holland for Burns. Yeah, well, I'd go Holland to Burns, and Tolman to Brown or Bird. Moving Tamo up, Mahoney into the scoring interchange, and then keeping the rest until next week.
What about someone like Waddell?
Not till I see.
Yeah.
Not till I see his role again. He only had 40 minutes. He was playing in the middle a fair bit. So whether he does that again, he's going to need the 40 minutes minimum to make any decent amount of money, unless he jags a try. But I won't be running the risk on downgrading to someone like him until I see how he goes this week, at least.
Yeah,
I've got one more question for you guys, and it's around the whole front rowers and how difficult it is to get into that elite tier at the moment. Do you guys reckon it's time for Locke to be grouped in with the front rowers? Because looking through at the moment, seeing guys like Jake Turbo in add class as a second rower and being amongst all those other great scorers in the second row, I would kill to have other options in the front row. And they play in the middle these days.
Do you honestly think FailHub have got any sort of thing to make that happen?
Yeah, good point.
I would love to see that, because like you said, there's even at the start of the season, there were only two options that made sense for me, and it was for Feeder and Tapau. And then I was hoping Host would be reliable coverage, but that didn't happen.
So you want about moving, separating the locks and class them as front rowers, or creating a lock position within the second row in the game?
I think maybe classing them as front row and just renaming it to middles and edges.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where it sort of hits the wall, is when it comes to the exact classification, because we have the lock classification, and I think that's as far as we can get.
I don't think Fiona's got to. I don't think she's going to flick the switch on that one, to be honest. She's got too much work to do with her cats.
Oh, come on, Will. She send her a tweet or two for.
Hey,
I'll give her a bash now.
A+ effort, all right. Don't judge her. It's A+.
I would be sending one, but I got blocked after a few hours of abuse last time, so I'm out for that one. Sorry.
She literally turned her account on private. I think it was 15 minutes after that A+ tweet.
She had a lot of angry forum members sending her. That was hilarious.
Oh, it wasn't even us. It was the community as a whole just despises her, I think.
Brilliant. Last one, Ran, before signing off, mate. Who's your POD for the week and your top captain?
My top captain of the week has to be Cook, because has to be Cook. He's the only true captain I could rely on. And my POD of the week, that's difficult. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Okenberg from the Bulldogs.
Christ alive, that's a shout.
Yeah, he's gonna have a big game, and I think it's gonna suck because I think he'll have a big game and he'll then draw a lot of people in. I'm not saying trade him in. I'm not saying get him. I just think he'll have a massive game this week for the Bulldogs. And
Archer, what about you, mate?
I mean, it's got to be Zeri, right? That's the pot of the week.
Shout out to Matans.
But no, I think I'm going to combine my pod and captain choice and choose a pod captain of the week and go Surges. I think he goes big again this week. It's Titans they're playing, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just going to bust open the Titans. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind combining my POD of the week into an avatar bet with one of you. Archer, probably, for your Surges, whoever scores higher this week. My POD of the week, return to form for Fitzgibbon. Poor start of the season. I think he's going to go large this week.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Deal. Avatar bet for 2 weeks. And my captain is got to be Cook for me. He's what's he averaging, over 60? He's been, for his standards, it's all been meat and potatoes. It's all been tackles, additional kick meters on last year. I think this is the week he busts. He's had a few try assists to Surges. I think he's going to bust a few tackles this week. I think he's going to go large, 70 plus, I reckon.
Yeah, no. I guess we'll wrap it up there then, guys. Thank you for coming on, Archer. Hopefully we have you again and the stories about your team are a bit more, just a bit
less
better.
laughable.
Yeah.
Above Welshie, perhaps.
I feel a lot better about my own team.
You should. What I feel, I'm relatively happy with my team. And I probably laughed at about 3 or 4 of his choices there. And I do not know where I'm going wrong.
Yeah.
I do not know where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, we'll see if anyone else is interested and wants to jump in and get some advice on their team and stuff. Just hit either me or Welshie up on the forums, or we'll have Archer again next week, which isn't ideal because it seems shit.
Do any of you two know how did after my laugh at a Wolf King and then seemingly going back in the rankings myself, I'm hoping he didn't catch up with me after one round, because that would be quite embarrassing for me. An apology would be owed.
Yeah, no idea. Sorry, I was too busy wallowing in my own misery.
And I went to check it, and the league's tab's fucked on fantasy football. So, thank you again, Fiona.
Yeah, I will hold my hand up and apologise to Wolf King if he has flown past me. Otherwise, I'm still going to laugh. So, we'll see. We'll see the next week anyway. Cheers, boys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.